According to Toyota's marketing, I'm too old, don't have enough tattoos or facial hair, and I need to play a cool instrument to buy the 2019 Toyota Corolla Hatchback. Well, that's not reality of who's actually going to be buying this car, but what I can tell you is that they've done a good job as far as refreshing the outgoing Toyota Corolla IM, which started life as the Scion IM. Historically, Toyota has had hatchbacks in the Corolla format, but they got away from it in recent years. Now it's back. There's been a resurgence of hatchbacks, including the Honda Civic, Chevy Cruze, and a host of others. This morning we drove a manual version, very important because you can't buy the Corolla sedan in a manual version. In fact, if you think this is just a hatchback version of the Corolla sedan, you are mistaken. This is a whole new vehicle. It's stiffer, about 60% stiffer than the outgoing model. It's lower, it's wider, and it's overall just a much better vehicle. It's still not Honda Civic good, but it's Chevy Cruze hatchback good. I'm glad to see Toyota put a manual transmission option in the Corolla Hatch. There's even an intelligent manual mode, which I think is designed to help younger buyers get off to a smoother start, smoother shifts, etc. The real news with the Corolla Hatch is in the CVT, which is probably going to account for about 85–90% of the sales. In order to offset that whiny rubber band feel, they've actually installed a true gear for first gear. So when I'm at a stoplight like I am now and I take off, I'm not going to be in this CVT mode. I'm actually already engaged into first gear like a traditional Steptronic transmission. And then it switches into CVT. This is, from my understanding, according to Toyota, the world's first application. And if this works, this could really be a breakthrough because you're not going to get that whiny feeling when you're taking off in a CVT, but you still get the benefits from a fuel economy standpoint. So here's an example of that acceleration. It's pretty good. It feels like a Steptronic until you leave that first gear and now you're in the CVT band mode. You even have paddle shifters. So a lot of work and thought has gone into it. Toyota has listened. They understand what customers like and don't like about the Corolla and the IM. Guess where else they've listened? Apple CarPlay. I can't believe it, but Toyota has been one of the last manufacturers to add Apple CarPlay as an option, and actually it's standard on the Corolla Hatch. So kudos to them for finally listening. You also have an 8-inch standard infotainment screen. If you get the base model, you get a 4.2-inch multi-information display between the gauges. We're driving the XSE, which is the top trim level, and you get a 7-inch display, which actually has a nice speedometer in that area. It shows you how big it is. Toyota's even added a couple of fun colors. Since it is a hatchback, it has plenty of utility. I spent a fair amount of time in the outgoing Corolla because a family member had one, 2015, so current generation, and that car was just awful. It was very reliable, but it was downright unenjoyable to drive. By contrast, this car is not bad. In manual, it's pretty good. I would have liked to see either a turbo or more torque. The 2-liter 4-cylinder engine is a non-turbo, has 168 horsepower and only 151 pound-feet of torque. That's a little low by my standards. They had some video comparing the handling to a VW Golf. Now, this car is going to be much more reliable than the Golf, but the Golf is still a better driver's car. This is the launch of the Corolla Hatch, and unfortunately we don't have fuel economy numbers and we don't have pricing. And that's too bad because those are very key metrics for people shopping in this segment. You know, a lot of times when you're comparing a vehicle, you might be looking at MSRP, but you really need to look, especially in this segment, at transaction price. Why do I say that? Well, I anticipate this car to be around $23,000. A pretty good price point. But I was able to buy a brand new 2017 VW GTI with the DSG for under $22,000. And that's just a much better car in a whole different stratosphere, much more horsepower, more fun to drive. This still may be the more reliable vehicle, but as you can see, if I'm strictly comparing transaction prices, I'm going to go with the GTI 10 out of 10 times. I like the styling. I like the visibility in this car. Steering wheel is very firm and sporty. They've done all the right things. They upgraded the interior. You have more soft touch materials, better quality controls. It's a much better vehicle than the outgoing IM. I don't think it's going to be the leader of this segment, and that's because you have the Civic Hatch, which has questionable styling, but is just a very well executed hatchback. And honestly, Hyundai's hatchback is probably the best value in the segment. You can even get it with a 200 horsepower option. Well, that's all the information I have on the 2019 Toyota Corolla Hatchback. I'm Ron Doran. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on The Driver's Seat.